Today's Monday, and we usually do a cooking episode, but I've got a set of 3 videos that I think are very, very important. So many people ask us about how to get started in reenacting, and these 3 episodes hit directly on that spot. So stay tuned as we do this one. We'll also do an episode tomorrow and the next day. I'm here today with JH Northrup, and today we're talking about reenacting and getting started. We're going to hear a little bit about his personal story. JH, tell us about how you got started and what you're doing.
I got started, John, back in like 1989. Actually was doing some buckskinning, ran across some redcoats in my hometown, and that's how I found out that there actually had been redcoats in my hometown of Huntington, Indiana, which prior to that never had any idea.
Right.
And just kind of went down that path and spent 20-some years as a redcoat, traveled overseas with it, started an organization, took off further from there, and wound up starting the Russian interpretation.
Okay.
And we've taken off with that, and now we're pushing the 7 Years' War European format events.
Okay. So what exactly reenacting do you do now?
For myself, technically, I'm a Kievsky Cuirassier, which is a Russian heavy cavalryman.
Right.
I'm the commander of the Russian forces for 7 Years' War European theater.
Okay.
Which includes Russian infantry, Russian field artillery, Moldavsky hussars, Kievsky Cuirassiers, a Tatar element, naval element, blah, blah, blah.
Right. So lots of small units inside of the Russian unit, which is inside of 7 Years' War European reenacting.
And we're working with 7 Years' War Incorporated in helping build like German troops, Prussian troops. We've got Swedish element coming along, Austrian element coming along. We've been working quite a bit with Poles and expatriate Poles, expatriate Ukrainians, expatriate Russians, and building other interpretations there also. Chances for them to do like, basically celebrate their heritage.
Right.
English-based people can wear red coats. Well, why can't the Russians come out and wear their stuff?
Sure. You do lots of reenacting. You're involved with larger parts of that. But what makes you want to do historical reenacting? What kind of draws you to that?
For myself, John, I've changed over the years. To start with, it was enjoying the camaraderie in the camp and with a nod towards history.
Social aspects, right?
Yeah. As it's gone along, I've gotten to where in like developing this Russian aspect and helping the guys with the Finnish and the German and the Swedish and all that stuff, the Polish. It's gotten more and more into actually exploring the history that was there, the culture that was there. Why did these people wind up over here, later on? Learning more about how they think, what they did, getting into whole new research areas, learning the skills. And so develop questions, as you've seen off and on over the years. Get a question, start exploring it, figure out connections. How does this work? How does this work? How does this work? And then begin building a crew of people who are also asking, how does this work? How does this work?
Right.
So within our crew as a whole, you've got people that have, they enjoy the initial socializing, or they've got for our Russians, you've got people that the anomaly of Russian they get a kick out of, or the cultural aspects, the language, the food, the folklore, whatever. And we've got guys that have, some of them are actually kind of seasoned reenactors coming in who are starting to get into the whole asking questions. Well, why does this work? How does this work?
So there's a learning aspect to it that's totally separate from the let's have fun, and history's connected with that, but not necessarily.
Well, the history, we like to say the history is the veneer.
Right.
The cultural, the foods, the folklore, everything else is all underneath that veneer of the history. So we put on the uniforms, we can go to an event, we can march around and fire muskets and do all that stuff. And that's great for 99% of the events. The stuff where our interest actually is that deeper down.
Right.
And not only learning the deeper down pieces, but also learning how they cross over with other cultures, other countries, other time periods to help fit everything into a better three-dimensional picture than just here I am with my uniform and musket.
Exactly. So to kind of connect back with history, many of the people we talk to talk about sometimes it's called a pristine moment, that time when you feel like you're back in history. Do you have experiences like that?
I've had a few of those, John. I've had a few. In 1996, a group of us went over to the UK to help New France Old England start their organization with their inaugural event in Bath. And because we were 20-somethings who scrimped and saved to get the airline tickets.
Right.
Basically, we just wore our uniforms the whole time for 2 weeks. The north wall of Carlisle Castle, at one point, we were standing up there, and this was right around the time, 1996. This is the, 250th of Culloden Moor.
Right.
That time period. And standing there on the castle wall looking out across, even though my regiment wasn't there, I had one of those flashback moments. And it was just that
amazing
caught in the moment.
feeling,
And it's like, okay, I'm North America, but right now I'm Jacobite uprising.
Yeah.
Downstairs in the prisoner pens in the dungeon. Same thing in a spot there. Had one in 2007 over in Poltava, in the original Poltava battlefield. I wasn't there in uniform. I was there in field clothes. I was doing forestry work. But being out on that field and looking across it from one of the Russian squares and just having the flash of, wow, the moment, and having it all come together, as it were. Also had the great common period experience that's been going on for over 2,000 years of falling off a horse, which that's about as period of as you get. That's pretty period correct. Right. Yeah.
You've moved from kind of reenacting type, one kind of reenacting to another. And tell me about this journey to where you're at right now. I mean, obviously, nobody was doing Russian 7 Years War in Indiana.
Or in the U.S., or in the world, frankly. I'm a Cold War baby.
Okay.
You and I are both Cold War babies, grew up in the Cold War, always had an interest in what was happening with Russia. And it was kind of down when the curtain came down or the wall came down. But I've always had that curiosity, always had that interest. 2007 went over and learned more about the history there, that prior to it, everything that I'd learned had been Western European and North America.
Right.
So then I walk in and I'm there at Poltava Battlefield. I'm talking with curators of museums and historians. And I'm finding out that, Russia had a standing army of roughly 500,000 men.
Yeah, huge.
The battles over there in Europe, where in North America for the F&I, if there were 5,000 men on the field, it's a huge battle.
Right.
Over there, the raid on Berlin had like 50,000 troops. And that was just a raid. So it's a whole different scale. And it opened up a lot of doors, opened a lot of doors. And just kind of naturally became I'm curious, I want to try it.
So recently I asked the audience out there in YouTube land what their biggest hurdles were. And one of them was that nobody in their area was doing the kind of reenacting they wanted to do. And so, I mean, I thought this was interesting. Nobody was doing what you wanted to do. So you just
did it.
You just did it.
You just did it. You start, we pieced together, we found the Osprey books by Angus Constrom. We got a hold of Angus. Boris Magorsky from the Preobrazhensky Guards in St. Petersburg got his contact information. Within the reenacting circles and the historian circles, there's so many contacts and so many opportunities out there. And just began running down people, getting information, piecing it all together. The fact is, first time out, your uniform's going to be wrong. But if you're doing something brand new, only you know. And as you get more information, and correct it and keep going with it. We started with 4 of us having an insane idea. And have grown to over 200 of us with aspects
so
of
all
the
you
same
need
idea.
is a small core.
Yeah.
In fact, just you, if you really want.
Yeah.
So part of it is you just have to want to do it. And even if it's something that isn't currently being done, it's still very doable.
Oh, it's always doable. That's how American Civil War, the largest interpretive market in the U.S., it got started because someone pulled on blue jeans and a blue jacket and said, let's go
play, let's go have fun, and let's
and
learn
now
about
it's
this thing.
One of the largest markets. The
And
colonial area got going because someone said, hey, the bicentennial's coming up. I've got some old-timey stuff I'm going to put on.
Right.
And now you've got whole lines of markets that have opened up from that. You just start doing it.
Right. I want to keep asking this guy more and more questions. This is getting too long, so I'm going to cut it right here, and we'll come back in a future episode. And there's so many more topics here to tease out of this. This is a deep topic to go in. So make sure to check out future episodes on this, and thanks for watching. If you're new to our channel, I want to welcome you. You can subscribe by clicking the button right up here. Also check out our related videos. Thanks so much for watching.